prestigious colleges, Cornell University and Ithaca College. Behind me here is the Ithaca Gun Factory, opened in 1883 and closed down in 1973. The Constitution was ratified about 100 years before this factory was built, and it remains in effect nearly 30 years after.
Thanks, Kazo. It really is a tragedy nowadays that after every mass shooting, we swing back into a cycle of outrage and doing absolutely nothing in the end. All these lives lost, and nothing has come of it. The ban on automatic weaponry really
are too much! The focus on guns solves nothing when these weapons are already out there on the market. All these bans are doing is an infringement on constitutional rights, and taking away the liberty of the American people for an illusion of protection. What we really should be focusing on is mental health care. Healthcare
is an issue that conservative politicians and activists have been battling for months. It's just a ploy to divert attention from the real issues. Hypocrisy at its finest. They
speak of the First Amendment, but never the Second. Why they worship the so-called freedom of speech is because
they are spreading fake news they find on social media that fits their agenda and
push their own personal bias and agenda
control exactly what people think, and this is extremely dangerous to our democracy.
Door me.
The constant agendas and corporate backing, they are dangerous.
This worked so much better on paper.
Hey! Yeah, I'm just gonna stop it there. That's it for the skit. I had about 5-10 more minutes of footage to put on there, but it was all as grainy and as terrible as the rest of this stuff. Because I had about 2 days to work on it, which is a lot more time than you need for a 5-minute presentation, but a lot less time than you need for a movie. So, what I'm going to do is just PowerPoint on here the same things that I would on a PowerPoint into this video, and you guys can just copy it down like you normally do for any other presentation. Capiche? Awesome. Well, at least I had some nice flashy effects. Well, now that at this point I've completely defeated the point of the whole video thing, here is a quick presentation. As you can probably tell, my topic is not gun control, it's actually a meta topic. It's a topic on controversial topics. So, for all of you doing the worksheet right now, the thesis statement is that controversial topics have a tendency to spread false and inaccurate statements, filter people towards the extremes, and pits groups of people against one another. So, a 2009 study by the University of Pennsylvania finds that online content that hits specific emotions is also the content that's most shared, and anger specifically is the most powerful of them, getting a 34% increase in share rates. Studies conducted by Science Magazine also reports that the top 1% of falsehoods reached 1,000 to 100,000 people, while truth rarely reaches 1,000. So, what does this all mean? It means that fact-checking is super difficult, and it's much easier to make up something that's infuriating than it actually is to spread real information, and real information generally is less interesting. So you can target misinformation and bypass reason and truth quite easily, because by the time someone starts spreading the truth, the lies have already gone around the world. Also, controversial topics have a habit of filtering people towards the extremes. You're either with us or against us. Like-minded people in a group strengthen group identity, and studies show that talking with other people in other groups actually reinforce the split. It increases how much they believe in their own cause. Worse yet, with social media, all your news, everything you see is now tailored to you. It's nice when you want to see your friends' photos, but you also see exactly what you believe in politically, exactly what your side wants to see, and it generally strengthens your own views and avoids information that you don't like to see. Overall, that just creates your own little bubble where you can just stay in there and always see exactly what you want to see and have no idea what anyone else is talking about. Now, when these bubbles interact and you pit two groups against one another, these controversial topics end up causing a lot more hostility and discrimination between opposing political sides, and that has dramatically increased over time. And studies on group polarization have confirmed that people slowly become what their group is stereotyped to be. When your group is seen as more dangerous, more extreme, you slowly become the danger, the extreme. So it's a self-reinforcing cycle that just ends up with two sides completely without reason arguing against one another. Alright, now that we're done and now that you've filled out your forms, here is a CGP Grey video that basically details everything I said in my thesis.
Hello Internet. Thoughts compete for space in your brain. Cat photos, news stories, belief structures, funny GIFs, educational videos, not so educational videos, and your thinking inventory is limited. A thought without a brain, to think it dies. Now, we can treat thoughts as though they're alive, specifically alive like germs. Logging onto your social media then is exposing yourself to everyone's mental sneezes. Each post a glob of snot with a thought germ trying to get into your brain. A funny cat photo with the perfect caption is a superflu. Now, just as germs exploit weak points in your immune system, so do thought germs exploit weak points in your brain, aka emotions. Once inside, thought germs that press emotional buttons get their host to spread them more, measurably more. Anger bypasses your mental immune system and compels you to share it like nothing else. Angry germs, the more they're shared, undergo the same process, changing and distorting to be more aggravating. These have a better chance of spreading than their possibly more accurate, but probably also more boring, rivals. But like plagues, thought germs can burn through a population too quickly. Just thought germs can burn out because once everyone agrees, it's hard to keep talking and thus thinking about them. But if there's an opposing thought germ, an argument, then the thinking never has to stop. The disagreement doesn't have to be angry, but again, angry helps. The more visible an argument gets, the more bystanders it draws in, which makes it more visible, which is why every group from the most innocuous internet forum to the national conversation can turn into a double rage storm across the sky in no time. Thought germs on opposite sides of an argument can be symbiotic. One tool symbiotic anger germs in particular can employ is you're with us or against us. Whatever thought germ does leapt to the front of your brain, push it back. This video isn't about that. When opposing groups get big, they don't really argue with each other, they mostly argue with themselves about how angry the other group makes them. We can actually graph fights on the internet to see this in action. Each becomes its own quasi-isolated internet sharing thoughts about the other. You see where this is going, right? Each group breeds thought germs about the other, and as before, the most enraging, but not necessarily the most accurate, spread the fastest. The group almost can't help but construct a totem of the other so enraging they'll talk about it all the time, which, now that you know how thought germs grow, is exactly what makes the totem always perfectly maddening. Now, all this isn't to say there's no point in arguing. That's a different video. Or that the internet isn't amazing, or that there aren't things worth trying to change people's minds about. Thought germs of all kinds come and go. But it's useful to be aware of how thoughts can use our emotions to spread, and how the more rapidly a thought is able to spread, the more chances it has to become even better at spreading through random changes that are made to it. Sometimes that's great, sometimes it's terrible. But if you want to maintain a healthy brain, it pays to be cautious of thoughts that have passed through a lot of other brains and that poke you where you're weakest. It's your brain, be hygienic with it.